Hi, Mr. Sawant. Coming back to IILM after all these years must feel really special, with so many memories coming back. We are really excited to have you here and dive into your journey. So, you are now managing operations for a global dental lab network. Can you take us back, like what brought you to IILM for your MBA?
So thank you. So it is great to come back because in 15 years back when I decided to do MBA, doing MBA was not my first choice at that point of time. But due to the family emergencies and other part, I decided to get into the proper job structure, and MBA was that time was the obvious choice. And when I gave my MAT, I got a scholarship in IILM. So that's where I end up into coming to IILM away from home. Like I'm from Mumbai, so it was a difficult decision coming to Gurgaon and joining this university at that point of time. So, but yeah, like all this 15 years after IILM, I think definitely the choice was the right choice.
So, looking at your journey, I noticed you were awarded testimonials for being analytical and having an entrepreneurial zeal. So, how did IILM help you develop these qualities?
So when I was studying in IIM, when initially in first year when I joined, I never thought operation would be my first subject. I was more into doing HR would be the final destination. But during the course, when I studied the operations and other part, during the projects, it was very evident for me, like I was able to think in very deep and able to find out the data or any patterns and other part in much better way than the others. And I think that drives me more into pursuing my further skills into operations, analytics, and that's how I end up with become more and more analytical.
So, what was your first impression of IILM when you joined the university? Like, how was the campus culture back then?
Yeah, so when I joined, when I entered IIM first time, initially now this has converted into university and it is now much bigger. It was a initial building and a lot of open space, and with those red brick structure, which is very unique. So I was astonished by looking at that even structure because I never thought MBA college would be like this. And looking at the staff and infrastructure, I was fascinated because I coming from a tier 3 city and coming into Gurgaon with such a magnificent infrastructure at that point of time, that was really astonished me at that point of time.
So, IILM emphasizes practical learning. Like, were there any 5 project internships or any industry interactions during your MBA like that prepared you for the corporate world?
Yes, I think when we joined, for me, like MBA or corporate world was totally new. Initially, when we had some of the interactions coming from the industrial members or corporate people who are already experienced, that has really helped us to understand how the corporate life look like. Because for us, it is like what we see in the movies and other part that defines us. But those insights I could easily get from those interactions. Later on, we had a lot of live projects in the second year. And from day one, I was very enthusiastic working with the live projects. I did a lot of live projects into operations, marketing, as well as into the finance. And that really helped me to exactly understand the DNA, how the corporate works, and how I need to prepare my skills, my development, and that really helps me a lot.
So, beyond academics, what role did extracurricular activities, clubs, or peer networking stay in your IILM journey?
So, when I joined, there are so many clubs at that point of an IIM. I particularly initially joined environmental club because before joining IIM, I was a wildlife biologist, so I'm more into the wildlife. Okay. So that was a natural inclination for me to join the environmental club. But over the time, we had an entrepreneur club where I also become the part of, where we used to talk about the new business ideas, discussions, listening. So that has actually really helped to increase my network within the organization, within this university, and really able to understand the different people coming from a different geographies. Because I'm from Mumbai, a lot of friends they are from the Lucknow, some are from the south. So that really helped to understand and know the people in much better way than what I used to do earlier.
So after graduating from IILM, what was your first role and how did you land it in it?
Okay. So I got a campus placement because I was working on a live project with this company called Leixir. That point of time, this company was on a conceptual stage, and the promoters they were looking for initially trainees who can do the market research. So I joined this company as a market research trainee, and we were doing some live projects. During the research finding, what I presented to the team, they liked the way I think and the way I got into the minute details of the project. and they give me an offer at that point of time. And the funny part is, when I was doing this interview, at the same time I was having the offer from the another FMCG big company as an area sales manager. So I have to choose a job between one who give me stipend and other who was giving me a very brand with the money. I choose as a experience with this company, and from day one I was involved into the core operations, from starting from scratch till now to become a $300 million company. So yeah, it was a journey started with IILM, and I'm happy where I am currently.
So I see you have quite interesting career path, like from MNC Saatchi in advertising to waste and care, then your entrepreneurial venture while explorer. Like, can you walk us through the journey?
So wildlife is something which I started doing in my school days. I was more into the wildlife research. So that actually pushed me to start my own NGO called Wild Explorer with my friends. We were majorly into the wildlife rescue and rehabilitation. Over the time, I pursued my first master, that is into environmental science, and that's where I end up into working with the Western Care. But I saw that the way I was pursuing environment as a career and versus the reality, I could easily figure it out that I need to improve myself to the next level. And that's where I did MBA, land up with ILM. And during that time, my one of the internship project was with the MNC Saatchi, which is into the marketing. And marketing, definitely, if you're a part of a marketing and sales, marketing always fascinates, because what we hear is marketing is pull. So I automatically get pulled into the MNC Saatchi. It was a great internship working for a Denoy and understanding how the brands to get launched, what are the deep research is required behind to get brands to establish. And I think that paved my further career path with Leixir, that this really helped me.
So now you are managing operations for Leixir Dental Group, like which represents across North America with the locations in Gurugram as well. So what does a typical day look like for you?
See, operation is day one. I was never into the operation. Initially, I was into the marketing and marketing research with this company. Eventually, because I has a very inquisitive eye and to know everything in detail. So from marketing, I slowly shift into the finance, into the acquisitions. From acquisitions, that curiosity further took me into the operations side of the systems. And from there, I end up with into the IT business and system execution. And that has actually trigger point for me to looking at that operation. Something fascinates me because operation is something where nothing goes right every day. Something is keep going wrong, and you need to be top of the game where you need to figure it out what can go wrong and develop those strategies, work with people, with the processes, bring them together. So I think that is typical a day look like for me. Like when I enter into the office, my first thing is to meet my team, because they are the one because of which I am there. So my first is definitely that give them that boost of energy in the morning, that what we do every day is matters most in this world, and give them that confidence. And then we have regular set of process that we have to follow. Then there are always a problems waiting on your door that you need to solve, and help them to understand why there is a problem and how as a team they can solve it. I'm just a facilitator. I'm not a problem solver for them. I just have to bring that to their attention, and then my job is done. And then last part definitely is throughout the days, think for the next step, that how the technology is changing, how the operations are required to be changed with respect to the technology, and how we can bring this new technology for this company and the growth. So this typically a day of any operation manager looks like, particularly in the healthcare industry.
So looking back at your 14 plus year career post IILM, how did your MBA education specifically prepare you for the challenges you have faced?
Okay, so that's definitely a wonderful question. So when I was doing MBA, trust me, giving exam was the most tedious part, because you have to give 2 papers every day, and it's like a pressure. And I never thought like every time I have to go through those 400 500 pages book, the 2 books you have to revise another part. But my strategy was different. I was more of a conceptual learner, practical learner, and that helps me to understand those subjects very well. So by the time before the one day before the exam, where everyone is opening books and just revising or taking the notes of, okay, this I need to learn because this come in exam, I was one of the person who used to sleep very peacefully, because I know that whatever I've learned, I have learned very perfectly. And if I need to go and reproduce that into my exam, I will definitely able to. I think that pressure handling is really important, because now you have, as a manager, you need to be surrounded by so many things and you have to keep taking the decision under the pressure. So handling pressure is very important part which this curriculum really teaches. Second is during ILM is interactions and the networking. I was quite introvert initially because coming from Mumbai and coming from tier 3 city, I was not much comfortable in communication in English, which because in Maharashtra we speak in Marathi and then Hindi. So English was not my first language where I can start communicating. So I was little bit hesitant to communicate, and I don't like to do shosha, what typically the north side I see observe. And that actually initially put me behind getting network, but over the time I realized like everyone is like us, think like me, and they have their own journeys, they have own experiences, and when I collaborate with them, I could really enjoy their experiences, and we really cherish nice friendships throughout this 2 years when I spent in Ireland, which is still helping me. So I think pressure handling, communications, and managing people has really helped me into the operations, which I learned during those 2 years, which I never thought that how these subjects are helping me. Another part is academics, like amount of the subjects what we learn during that 2 years journey, like finance, accounts, or HR, those subjects, the relevance, like practical applications, when you work in corporate, that really help you to understand the things in much better way, because now you have that 360 view of a problem. And I think as a good manager, you need to understand the problem in a 360 way, because otherwise you can always look in a single lens as an operational lens, but the problem may be more on the finance side, the problem may be more on the human resource side. So that curriculum really helped, and thanks to my all good professors who really took pain to make us understand those subject conceptually. So yeah, I think that helped me a lot.
So if you could pinpoint 2, 3 specific skills or lessons from ILM that you use every single day in your current role, like what would they be?
So first and foremost lesson, I will say it is still academics, but still I use it as a lesson. The first thing which I learn is during my marketing part. One is the marketing is pull and the sales is a push, right? The typical part. But when I see when I have to attract people towards you, you need to market yourself, right? So you need to create that pull. The pull can come through your knowledge, through your aura, through how you work for people. And definitely the sales is push, where you need to keep selling your ideas to the team and make them buy those ideas, which make them realize this is their own idea and they will able to execute on the floor. So I think that was my first lesson which I learned, that with the people, like how I need to bring my ideas into their mind to make them believe that this is what is right and why it is right. Second is definitely, which I am using on everyday basis, is the management, like resource management, because MBA is all about how you manage the resources, right? And in any company, the resources are always scared. So this 360 degree or 360 problem looking view, that really helped me to understand the problem and spend more time on the problem rather than jumping on the solution, because this is something we learned during our MBA, like don't spend too much time on solutions, spend more time on understanding the problem. The solutions may come within. And third part, which I believe is very common, is attitude, how that journey has shaped up your attitude. This attitude which this 2 years journey helped me to shape, it's still with me and it's really helped me a lot.
So what advice would you give to current IILM students who are trying to figure out their career path, especially those interested in operations or entrepreneurship?
So first and foremost advice is don't go with what people say. You need to have your own experience. Like when I joined, I wanted to, my parents, everything, they want me to do finance. My colleagues, they advised me to do sales. I wanted to do HR. And during the first year when I had my own journey, I could able to figure it out that where am I good at. Second part is, if I'm good at X thing, how that X thing works in the real corporate world. And that linkage, I could able to figure it out during this time. So if the students are able to figure it out, that journey, and that journey has to done by himself or herself, and able to link those two connecting dots, that what is my strength and weakness and what is there for me into this industry and how I can add a value. Because if you don't add a value to any company, then howsoever you are good into academics, it doesn't matter.
Right.
And I think that would be my first practical advice that I would like to give to the team, this current students, like they should start understanding, doing the introspect of themselves. Second part is keep the touch with the world. What happening around the world, it's so important. because if you become isolate from the world, like reading out a newspaper, that was one of the at that point of time I used to feel it's a useless thing to read Economic Times or all this business newspaper because it's so boring. Challenge was we were not able to understand how it linked to the practical world. During that time, when we learned that part and we started understanding the implications and applications, that really helped. So I think the practical knowledge is most important, and that you need to keep gathering. And third is understand how the world is changing drastically, like AI. How you can use AI to build your strength, overcome your weakness. And if you can do these three things, I think that will really help you to reach to your destination, or you can actually start seeing your path, that this path I need to travel to reach my destination.
So one final question, what's next for Aditya Sawant? Like any exciting projects or goals you are working toward?
Yeah, so exciting is definitely like few months back I've joined this AI project, and I think that has really fascinated me how the AI and all that works. So I think for me the next part which I decided for myself is from operation journey I'm elevating to the new role is into the AI, robotics and automation for myself, which I feel that with my analytical skill I can bring into this company and make life easier for everyone working in my company and take the company to the next level.
Thank you so much sir, for joining us with today. It was great meeting you.
Thank you for inviting me. It was always fun to be here.